Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel, the Research Thinking Lab. And here we are going to discuss about everything about research, everything about that comes to our mind while we are doing or we have completed our PhD and the topics related to our research. We start with the general topics, and then we will deep dive into some of the serious topics as well. And based on your choice and also your interest, I can also deep dive into a multitude of topics here as well. So let's start today with one of the critical topics which is part of our PhD journey, and most of our PhD topics are also related around it, right? So the topic is why most PhD research topics fail, right? And what should we do to fix it, so that we do not have to kind of read out and reiterate again and again on the same topics and really invest much more years into it, right? So most PhD research topics don't fail because they are uninteresting or unimportant, right? So they fail because they never clearly transformed into a research problem, and this confusion costs PhD scholars months and sometimes years of misdirected work. And in this video today, I want to show you on why this happens, right? And how reviewers and examiners actually see your topic and how you can fix it early, right? So let's move on, right? So what is the hard truth about it? By the time PhD topic fails, a lot of effort has already gone into it, right? Reading papers, writing drafts, meeting your supervisors, and the idea itself was usually fine. What was missing? The missing part is the clarity that kind of sometimes misses the focus, and most of the PhD topics, right? So are simply underspecified, right? They don't yet explain what exactly is wrong and what exactly is missing and or what is unresolved, right? And that is a hard truth, right? So then what is the core mistake that we do, right? So as PhD students, the core mistake that we make is accounting that a topic or a research problem are the same thing, right? A topic tells me what you are interested in, right? And a research problem tells me what is broken in our current understanding. So the PhD research begins with description, where description ends, right? And the problematization begins. And that is where we have to really focus our efforts into, right? So there are various things that, as me also as a student, um, have kind of committed here, right? So there are various common topics, right? So there are very common topics in PhD, um, and they're not wrong, right? So like AI in healthcare, digital transformation in SMEs, remote work and productivity. But notice what they do, right? So they name an area, not an issue, right? From a reviewer's point of view or the reviewer's perspective, nothing here tells me what exactly the study is trying to fix, or what is trying to explain, or what is trying to challenge. So at this stage, I don't know yet why the research is needed, right? And that's where we often go wrong in our topic selection. So how do reviewers think, right? So when reviewers or examiners read your proposal, they're not reading it line by line, right? So they are just scanning, they're subconsciously asking these three questions. What exactly is not working, right? Why should I care about this problem? And why should I trust this particular study to address it, right? So if your topic does not naturally answer these three questions, it is bound to be kind of rejected, or the author, or let's say the reviewers, will feel it weak, and they will have harsh comments for the authors as well, right? So this is where we have to bring that understanding that what is a research problem, right? So, research problem is not just an unexplored area, it is a tension, right? A contradiction, an inconsistency, or a breakdown where existing theories or expectations or explanations no longer fully work, right? And that tension between what we think, right? So, what we know and what we observe is what justifies our research. And this is very critical. When it comes to topics, right? Topics and a research problem, this is what I talked about. Like, what is a topic, how it is different from a research problem. So, topics describe your area of interest, right? So, research problem explains a breakdown in understanding. So topics could be broad, right? Broad, descriptive, but the problems are precise and defensible, right? And only a research problem invites theory, method, and contribution. Without it, the study remains descriptive, right? And this is very important that we distinguish between a topic and a research problem. Now let's take a look into a simple transformation. So before doing that transformation, the first version tells me about what the study is all about, right? The second version after the transformation, it signals inconsistency in existing findings, invites an explanation, and that exact shift from the topic to tension is what turns a general idea into a PhD level research. And this is very important for us to understand. So there are various reasons, right? So why our topics do not get rejected, or let's say we have to go through iterations, and likewise when supervisors or the reviewers are, let's say, assessing our work, they will say the work is too broad. They usually mean that they cannot see a clear problem. That's it. And then when they say it's too descriptive, that means there is still no clear explanation, right? So and when they say that the contribution is unclear, so they basically mean that they are telling you the problem is not been articulated strongly enough, right? So this is a feedback on framing, right? Not our capability, right? Or not on our ability to do things. So then how do we fix it, right? So let's say from my perspective, I think these are the three specific diagnostics questions that we can ask ourselves and really apply it. All right. So the first one, what do we think we already know in this area, right? So and secondly, it would be like where does this understanding break in theory, in evidence, or in practice? And we really have to take a look into really case evidences as well in here. And third, what remains unexplained if the existing studies are correct? So, with these three answers, right? So, if we can answer all these three questions honestly, the research problem will begin to emerge. This is how we fix it. But then again, what is not a research problem? As we have iterated in this particular video, that the research problem is not simply that no one has studied a particular something before or particular topic before. Limited literature or new context can also be a starting point, right? But they are not justification on their own. So the PhD research basically begins when existing explanations stop working and not the novelty begins, not when the novelty begins, right? So that's how we have to define a research problem. So overall, right, so the strong PhD research will always move from a topic to a clearly articulated problem and then to a contribution, right? And if we are, let's say, PhD scholars, clarity matters more than the novelty, right? So what I'll do as part of this series or this video series, we will try to bring these topics where I will explain why research gaps and research problems are not the same thing, right? And how confusing them would really derail our entire PhD journey, right? And having said that, so if you have found this useful, comment with your topics, discipline, and stage, and I'll read every comment. And then, and let's start a strong PhD research with, and begin with a, not begin with a fashionable topic, but it begins with a clearly articulated problem. And if you're not doing a PhD, the clarity will take you further as well than the novelty of the topic as well. And then you can really decide which topic you want to bring in, and likewise. So let's say now in the next video, we will unpack the difference between research gap and a research problem, and why confusing them can really derail your entire research or your entire PhD. So, if you have found this useful, comment on the video, and hope to meet you again, and enjoy the day, and let's catch up in the next video. Thanks so much. Thanks for the time.